It was my daughter's birthday, and I showed up at her house early with her favorite cake. I knocked with a smile, picturing her face lighting up the way it did when she was little. Before I go on, quick pause. Make sure you're subscribed and drop a comment. Where are you watching from? We love seeing how far these stories travel. I can still smell the almond cake with chocolate ganache I carried to my daughter Elena's house that afternoon. It was her 43rd birthday, and I'd pinched and saved from my fixed income for months to buy that little work of art from the fancy French bakery she adored. $180 I really didn't have, but I spent it gladly, just to see her smile. The rideshare dropped me in front of the house I helped finance 5 years earlier, a glass and stone 3-story in Montecito, perched above the ocean with an infinity pool that looked like it fell off the edge of the world. I'd put up $80,000 for the down payment, money I'd saved penny by penny across 45 years as a university math professor, extra sections, weekend tutoring, summer courses. I tugged at my new turquoise dress, bought for the occasion, balanced the cake box in one hand, and kept my other hand wrapped around a small silver package. My mother's pearl necklace. 3 generations of strong women, I thought. What a legacy to pass down. The door opened. Elena's face didn't light up. Her eyes skimmed across mine for a split second, then slid right back to the phone in her hand. "Oh," she said, "it's you." No hug, no kiss, not even a polite, "Come in, Mom." She stepped aside like I was a courier with a delivery. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," I said, forcing warmth into my voice. "I brought your favorite cake and a special gift." Elena sighed, as if my presence were an obstacle she'd reluctantly decided to tolerate. "Just put it on the kitchen island. I need to finish this call." I walked alone through the echoing foyer, past a living room built for magazine shoots and fundraisers, into a kitchen lined with Italian marble. I set the cake down gently. Through the window, I saw the twins, my 11-year-old grandsons, splashing with their swim coach. They didn't look up. The house felt like a museum. I stood very still, listening to the hollow quiet of a place that had everything and somehow nothing. 15 minutes later, Elena drifted into the kitchen, stunning as ever, hair perfectly colored, makeup flawless, manicure fresh. All this courtesy of the med spa I helped her open 8 years ago. I'd taken out a personal loan for $20,000, putting my condo up as collateral. She'd never paid me back. "So," she said, opening the sparkling water fridge and cracking a bottle, "did you just come to drop the cake, or are you staying for dinner too?" Her tone cut like a knife. I swallowed, steadying myself. "I thought maybe we could spend the afternoon together." "It's your birthday. We haven't seen each other in nearly 2 months. She said, flicking her gaze to her phone. "I actually have plans later. Marcelo's taking me to Tide. Just the 2 of us, Marcelo. Husband number 3. A man whose wealth came from investments he never seemed able to explain. Somehow, his projects always had emergencies that needed my help. 3 weeks ago, it was $3,000 for a rush import venture that couldn't wait. I'd pulled it from the envelope where I keep money for my blood pressure meds. "I understand," I said, doing my best to tuck the sting out of sight. "Maybe lunch tomorrow?" Elena finally met my eyes. There was a tension in her face, like a curtain tugged tight over a window. She set her bottle down with a soft thud and gestured at the bar stools around the island. "Sit." "We need to talk," I obeyed, feeling a knot gather at the base of my throat. I knew that tone. She'd used a version of it as a little girl, right before saying something mean just to see if she could get away with it. "I've been thinking," she said, rolling the bottle between her palms, "about birthdays, about life, about what would actually make me happy." I nodded. "Tell me." "Maybe I can help." She looked me dead in the eyes. In that look, I didn't see love or even passing annoyance. I saw disdain. "The only thing I truly want," she said, slow and crisp, each word crueler than the last, "is for you to disappear from my life. Ideally, by dying, time stopped. The air emptied out of the room. I tried to swallow, but my throat seized, as if someone had punched me square in the chest. "What?" I whispered. "You heard me," she said, smooth as glass. "I'm tired of you, Mom. Tired of the constant calls, the surprise visits, the way you insert yourself with your out-of-date advice and bottomless emotional need." My hands shook. 74 years old, 43 of them spent as her mother, and I had never, not once, imagined hearing anything like this from my only child. "Elena," I stammered, tears burning suddenly hot. "I'm your mother. I gave you everything. I sacrificed everything for you." "Exactly," she said, standing, "and it's suffocating me. I can't breathe with you always there, always needing something from me. I need space, freedom. I need to live my life without your expectations and your drama." I looked at the birthday cake, the unlit candles still tucked in their box. Every image I'd held for this day, hugs, laughter, a tumble of old stories, blew away like ash. But I want to be close to you. I tried again, voice small, to be part of your life. "You're all I have." "And that's the problem," she said, arms folded. "The fact that I'm all you have. Fix your own life and leave me alone." I stood on trembling legs and reached for my purse. I picked up the tiny silver gift box with the pearl necklace. I left the cake. Maybe my grandsons would enjoy it, even if their mother couldn't. "I can't believe you'd say this," I murmured. "After everything I've done for you." She laughed, sharp, disbelieving. "Everything you did was for you, Mom, so you could feel needed, so you could control me. I'm not a little girl anymore. I don't need you." I walked toward the door, each step taking a year off my life. In the doorway, I turned, searching her face for regret, for some shadow of the sweet little girl I raised with my whole heart. Impatience. That's all I saw. She just wanted me gone so she could get back to her birthday without the burden that was me. "Happy birthday, Elena," I whispered, and closed the door gently behind me. What my daughter didn't know as she watched me leave on that bright, salt-scented afternoon was that she had struck a match inside me, a spark that had slept for decades, not a flame of self-destruction, a fire of rebirth. The driver dropped me at my small downtown apartment, a modest 2-bedroom I bought after selling our family home when my husband died 20 years ago. I stumbled in, let my purse slip to the floor, and folded into the familiar sag of my old sofa. The same sofa where I'd cradled Elena as a baby, where I'd read her bedtime stories, where I'd dried her tears after every disappointment. "Die," she had said, as a birthday wish. The pain was physical, a heavy stone on my chest. Breathing hurt. I stayed up through the night, replaying every moment, every sacrifice, every dollar I'd poured into her life for 4 decades. When she was 5 and diagnosed with severe asthma, I took extra hours at the university to pay for treatment insurance wouldn't cover. $1,800 in co-pays and meds, money I scraped together by selling the wedding jewelry my husband gave me. At 16, when she begged to do an exchange semester in Boston, I refinanced my condo to cover the program fee, $12,000, hugging her at the airport as she whispered, "You're the best mom in the world." Words that now felt like fossils from another life. In college, she changed majors 3 times, pre-law to architecture to business, and I paid every extra semester without complaint. Nearly $40,000 in tuition, pieced together with weekend tutoring and holiday courses. When she married the first time, an over-the-top hotel ballroom affair for 300 guests, I footed the bill, $32,000. Designer dress, imported flowers, live band, gourmet, everything. "It's the happiest day of my life, Mom," she said, shining like a chandelier. "All thanks to you." The divorce came 2 years later, then a second wedding, pricier than the first. That too ended in under 3 years. Then came Marcelo, then the Montecito house, the med spa, the luxury SUV I helped replace when the old one died, $12,000 out of my retirement, private bilingual school for the twins, $4,000 a quarter, emergencies upon emergencies. Just before dawn, I found the old box where I keep every receipt, every wire transfer, every contract. Not because I didn't trust her, because I'm a math professor and I document things. I sat at my small kitchen table with a cup of tea I never drank and started listing. Every amount, every date, every reason. The total stunned me. Across 43 years, I had poured in over $250,000, $250,000, and all of it for a woman whose birthday wish was that I would stop existing. Something shifted as I stared at those numbers. The stabbing hurt softened into something else. Not rage, though there was rage, but a crystalline clarity I'd never felt before. I had been manipulated for decades by someone who saw my love as a utility, not a bond. If I'd invested that $250,000 in myself, traveled, studied more, bought a better place, prioritized my health, where would I be now? Not in this little apartment, counting pennies and postponing procedures so I could keep rescuing a daughter who wanted me dead. At 6 a.m., I did something I'd never done. I took out my phone and blocked Elena's number, then Marcelo's, then every number tied to her world. A small gesture, symbolically enormous, my first act of self-preservation in 43 years. I took a long shower, put on my best navy pantsuit I rarely wore because it felt too nice for every day, and left the apartment with a purpose that didn't include my daughter for the first time in decades. First stop, the bank. The same bank where Elena and I shared a for emergencies account I funded regularly to cushion her surprises. It held $18,000. "Good morning, Ms. Alvarez," the manager said. He'd known me for years. "What can we do for you?" "I'd like to close the joint account ending in 7891, I said, my voice calm and even. He blinked. "Are you sure?" "There's a significant balance." "Absolutely," I said, signing the forms with a steady hand. "Please transfer the full amount to my personal account." Watching those funds return to me felt like someone had slid a key into a lock inside my chest. I hadn't felt that kind of power in years. It was only the beginning. Next stop, the mortgage office. When Elena and Marcelo bought the Ocean View house, I hadn't just provided the down payment, I signed as guarantor. If they missed payments, I was on the hook, which also meant I had rights. "Ms. Alvarez," the loan officer greeted me. "What brings you in?" "I'd like to review the contract where I'm listed as guarantor," I said. "I need to understand my rights and obligations, completely." She pulled a thick folder and slid it across the desk. "As guarantor, you're responsible if the primary borrowers default. But you also have the right to initiate protective actions if you believe they're at risk of default." I turned each page carefully. Last week, Elena, without thinking, had mentioned that Marcelo had taken a beating on an investment and they'd been late on the last mortgage payment. She'd tossed it out casually, probably hoping I'd jump in and rescue them, like always. If I chose to exercise those rights, I asked, what would be the next steps? "We'd loop in our legal team," she said. "They'd evaluate risk, the payment history, and options. We can schedule a meeting." "Please do," I said, gathering copies. My heart felt strangely light as I stepped back into the sun. For 43 years, I'd lived for Elena. My money, my time, my health, my dreams, all shoveled into a furnace to keep her world warm. And her birthday wish was that I vanish. My next stop was a place I hadn't visited in years, a travel agency that specializes in long-stay programs for retirees. I'd kept their brochure tucked in a drawer forever, daydreaming about possibilities that never felt allowed. "Good afternoon," said a young agent named Lucy. "How can I help?" "I saw your program about retirees living abroad," I said, settling into the chair. "I'd like full information on how a 74-year-old woman can begin a new life in Spain." The next days were a whirlwind of quiet, deliberate preparations. every morning I woke with a cocktail of grief, steel, and something I hadn't felt in years: hope. It was as though I'd woken from a long trance where my sole purpose was to anticipate my daughter's needs. Now, for the first time in decades, I was living for myself. On Tuesday, my phone lit up with Elena's name. I let it ring. She tried 5 more times, each voicemail more irritated than the last. "Mom, call me." "Mom, what is going on?" "Mom, the twins have a school showcase Thursday. We need you to watch them after." "Mom, I'm getting worried." The irony didn't miss me. The same woman who'd wished me dead was suddenly anxious because I wasn't available, not because she missed me, but because she needed me. On Wednesday, my neighbor and lifelong friend, Dolores, 70, quick-witted, and fiercely loyal, stopped by with coffee. "You look different," she said, studying my face. "What happened?" I told her everything. Every razor-edged word from Elena's mouth, every decision I'd made since. Dolores listened, eyes shining. "I can't believe she said that to you." After everything, the worst part, I said softly, is how natural it sounded. Like I was a problem to eliminate. "Are you really going to Spain?" "Yes," I said. "I already bought the ticket. I leave next week." She squeezed my hands. "Then you have all my support." "What else do you need?" I lowered my voice. "Your help with something important." I told her my plan. For a while, Elena would believe I'd vanished for good. Dolores would be my witness, the one who'd find my place empty and deliver a letter. "It's brilliant," Dolores said, a conspiratorial smile breaking across her face. "That ungrateful girl is finally going to learn what it means to lose you." I'm in that night. I wrote the most important letter of my life. "My dear Elena," I began, "you asked for your birthday gift that I disappear from your life. I've decided to grant that wish I wrote for hours. Every sacrifice, every dollar, every opportunity I'd surrendered. It wasn't a tantrum. It was a ledger. I attached documentation, the change to my will, cancellation of the supplemental health plan I paid for her, notification that as guarantor of the mortgage I was exercising my rights in light of recent instability, closure of all financial pipelines she relied on. 18 pages, precise and unemotional, outlining exactly how life would look without me. Your life will be much easier without me, I concluded. It will also be much more expensive. I hope it's worth it. That Thursday, as I packed my essentials into 2 suitcases, Elena called again. I let it ring. She tried 4 more times, each message more frantic than the last. "Mom, please call me back." Something happened. The bank called. "We have an emergency meeting about the mortgage tomorrow. Please, I need you." So that was it. The bank had contacted her about my request to review the guarantor contract. Reality was catching up. On Friday, Marcelo showed up at my door. Gone was the polished, self-assured man I knew. His eyes were sunken, beard unshaven, voice frayed. "Carmen," he said, practically begging. "Elena told me what happened. I know what she said was awful, unforgivable even, but please don't do this to our family." "Do what?" I asked evenly. "The bank said you've initiated a process to take over the house because of late payments. Please, Carmen, it was just 1 month. I had a few investment issues, but I'll fix it." I promise. Fascinating, I thought. When Elena wanted me gone, I was a nuisance. But now that I held the strings to their lifestyle, suddenly I mattered. "Marcelo," I said calmly, "your wife made herself very clear. My presence in her life is a burden. I'm only respecting her wishes." "Please," he pressed, desperation in his tone. She didn't mean it. She was upset. "You know how she gets, oh, she meant it," I said softly. "She wanted me dead." And she sounded very convincing. He dropped his head. No defense. "Give me a chance to fix this. I'll talk to her." "It's too late," I said, gently closing the door. "Kiss my grandsons for me." Saturday, I walked the city one last time. The university where I'd taught for nearly 4 decades, the park where I'd pushed Elena on swings, the church where I'd married her father, silent goodbyes to a life I'd lived entirely for others. Sunday morning at 6 sharp, Dolores knocked with coffee and a conspiratorial grin. "Ready for your big escape?" "More than ready," I said, hauling my suitcases to the door. "Keys?" she asked. "Here," I said, handing her my spares. She held the letter for Elena, along with the stack of legal documents. We'd rehearsed everything. She would wait until Tuesday, then stop by Elena's house, feigning concern after finding my apartment empty. She'd deliver the letter as if she'd stumbled on my disappearance. "Remember," I reminded her, "you have to look genuinely worried." "Tell her you knocked," no answer. "Used the keys, found the place empty, and the letter." Dolores winked. "I taught community theater for 20 years. This will be my role of a lifetime." The cab arrived. I gave one last glance at my little apartment. 15 years in that space, and yet strangely, I felt no nostalgia, only freedom. It had been a prison of my own making. "To the airport?" the driver asked. "Yes," I said, and those 2 words felt like the start of my rebirth. The flight to Barcelona was long but calm. For the first time in decades, no one knew where I was. No one could call with demands, pleas, or sudden emergencies. The freedom was intoxicating. Somewhere over the Atlantic, I wrote in my journal, "This is the first time in 43 years I've done something solely for me, not calculating how it might benefit Elena. It's terrifying, and it's glorious." I landed in Barcelona Monday morning. A representative from the travel agency waited with my name on a sign. Miguel, kind and cheerful, guided me to a small furnished apartment in the Gothic Quarter, a 3rd-floor walk-up overlooking a leafy plaza, flower boxes bright against the centuries-old stone. For a month, until I decided whether to stay. "Here's everything you'll need," Miguel said, handing me a folder. Recommended restaurants, social groups, doctors, even an appointment with a financial advisor. "Welcome to your new adventure." That afternoon, after a nap, I wandered. Narrow streets, medieval arches, cafes spilling tables into alleys. I sat in a plaza, ordered a café con leche and churros, and ate slowly, savoring each bite. Watching pigeons, tourists, locals. A peace I hadn't felt in years swelled inside me. By 8 p.m. Barcelona time, 2 p.m. back in California, Dolores would be delivering the letter. I poured a glass of Spanish Red and waited. At midnight, my phone lit up. Elena. I let it ring out. It rang again and again. On the 5th attempt, I answered. "Mom!" she sobbed, breathless. "Where are you?" "Dolores came with a letter. You disappeared. What's going on?" "Hello, Elena," I said, calm as still water. "Did you read the letter?" "Yes, are you crazy? How could you do this? Where are you? What the hell is happening?" "I'm exactly where I need to be. Away from you, just as you wished." "I didn't mean it," she cried. "I was stressed. Marcelo lost money, the kids are acting out, the clinic's struggling. I took it out on you. I didn't mean it." "Didn't mean it?" I asked. "Because you sounded very convincing when you said your greatest birthday wish was for me to die. It was just stress. Please, Mom, come back. We need you. I need you." Interesting. Now she needed me. Now that she'd read the letter outlining the lost financial lifelines, now that the house and insurance were in jeopardy, now that babysitting wasn't guaranteed. "Do you need me, Elena?" I asked. "Or do you need my money?" A long silence. Then, "You. I need you." Her voice was thin, unconvincing. "Elena, I lived 43 years for you," I said. "My dreams, my money, my health, all gone to keep you afloat. And when I needed to feel loved, you wished me dead. That broke something in me that can't be repaired." "I'm sorry," she cried. "I'm so sorry." Sorry doesn't heal a shattered heart, but maybe it was a gift because it woke me up. For the first time in decades, I'm living for myself, and it's wonderful. Where are you, Mom? Please tell me. The twins are asking about you. They don't understand. Oh, the twins. When I was always available, my presence was taken for granted. Now that I was gone, suddenly I was missed. They'll be fine, I said, gazing at the stars over Barcelona. Children are resilient. They'll learn that actions have consequences, and words can destroy relationships. You can't just vanish like this, she wailed. What if you get sick? What if something happens to you? How will we know? Convenient, her sudden concern for my well-being. In the last 3 years, I'd been hospitalized twice with blood pressure spikes. How many times had she visited? None. Once she skipped because of a friend's party. Another time because it was Marcelo's birthday. She remembered. I knew she remembered. I thought it wasn't serious, she muttered weakly. Of course. My health never mattered. My checks did. It's not about money, she shouted. It's about you. I miss you, Mom. Do you miss me? I asked softly. Or do you miss having someone available 24/7 to clean up your messes? I ended the call before she could answer. The phone rang again and again, but I muted it. I needed peace. My first night of freedom in a new life. The next days were discovery. Not just Barcelona, me. Pieces of myself I'd buried under sacrifice bloomed again. My love for Gothic architecture. I spent hours studying the cathedral. My ear for languages. Catalan wasn't so daunting. My joy in math. I played with problems for fun again. Wednesday, I met with the financial advisor, Senor Ferrer, a dignified man, thorough and patient. With your current savings and pension, he said, you can live comfortably here for many years. Spain has excellent health care for retirees. Your quality of life will be extraordinary. For the first time, I built a budget only around me. No slush fund for Elena's emergencies. No sacrifice line items. Just me. The liberation was intoxicating. You can also invest here, he added, stable, safe returns. In 5 years, your assets could significantly grow, not shrink under endless requests. It was a revelation. Friday, I joined a hiking group for expat seniors. 12 people, all in their 60s and 70s, all chasing new adventures. Along the trail, I fell into step with Luisa, an Italian woman of 76. What brought you here? She asked. My daughter told me her birthday wish was for me to die, I said plainly. I was done sugarcoating. Her eyes widened. You're serious? Completely. After financing her house, raising her kids, sacrificing my retirement, she said my existence was suffocating. Luisa shook her head. And what did you do? I disappeared, and now I'm here. She smiled, eyes warm. Brava. It took me 7 years to leave my toxic family. My son and his wife treated me like an ATM. When I set boundaries, they called me selfish and threatened to keep my grandkids from me. What changed? I realized they never cared if I was happy, if I had enough. They only cared what I could give. That's not love. That's exploitation. Her words rang like church bells in my chest. For decades, I'd mistaken manipulation for love, demands for need. By the end of the hike, Luisa invited me to her support group, a circle of women who'd walked the same path. I agreed without hesitation. That night, I turned my phone back on. 78 missed calls, 32 texts, most from Elena and Marcelo, some from strangers they'd roped in to track me. The messages began emotional. Please, Mom, come back. We need you. The kids are crying. Then desperate. The bank called again. They said you moved on the mortgage. They can't take the house. Please fix this. Then angry. You're ruining our lives over a tantrum. Grow up and come home. And finally frantic. We've called the hospitals, the police, everyone. No one knows where you are. If something happens to you, it's on me. Please just answer. Not once did Elena apologize sincerely for what she'd said. Not once did she show real remorse. Everything circled back to her. her comfort, her fears, her finances. I answered one final text. I'm perfectly fine and happier than I've been in years. What you're feeling now is the natural consequence of your choices. I hope it teaches you to value the people you love before it's too late. Her reply came instantly. Please, Mom, we can fix this. I promise I'll never say those things again. Just come back. I wrote back. Empty promises don't mend broken hearts. Your words revealed the truth of what you feel. That truth can't be erased by desperate vows. Then I blocked her, blocked Marcelo, blocked the unknown numbers. For the first time, the line went silent. It was time to close that chapter forever. The following week, I met again with Senor Ferrer, my advisor, and signed the papers that would make Spain my permanent residence. We arranged for my pension to be transferred abroad and initiated the sale of my apartment back home. Are you sure? He asked gently. This is a major step. I looked at him and smiled with a steadiness that surprised even me. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. For decades, my choices had been shaped around Elena's demands. For the first time, I was shaping my future for myself. That afternoon, Dolores called from California. Carmen, you won't believe it, she said breathlessly. Elena came to me yesterday sobbing. She begged me to tell her how to reach you, said she wanted to apologize. But I told her the truth, that what she did was unforgivable and that you were thriving in your new life. You should have seen her face when she realized everyone knew how cruel she'd been. Dolores chuckled softly. She also admitted she and Marcelo can't keep up with the house payments without your help. The bank's breathing down their necks. The kids' school bills are piling up. She finally sees what you did for her, only after she lost it. I closed my eyes. It was exactly what I expected. She didn't miss me. She missed the endless stream of sacrifices. Dolores, I said, my voice firm, if anyone asks, especially Elena, tell them I'm gone. For her, I really am. The Carmen who lived for her died on her birthday. I understand, Dolores said softly, and honestly, I think it's the best death you could have chosen. 3 weeks into my new life, I was flourishing. I enrolled in Catalan classes 3 days a week, took watercolor lessons on Tuesdays and Thursdays, discovering an artistic side I never knew existed. On Sundays, I joined a book club of fellow expatriates. For the first time in decades, my schedule was filled with things I chose. Even my finances transformed. Without Elena's constant drains, my savings not only held steady, they grew. My investments with Senor Ferrer were already returning modest profits. At 74, I had a sense of financial stability I hadn't felt in years. One sunny April morning, as I sipped coffee on my balcony, my phone rang with an unfamiliar international number. Senora Alvarez, a woman's voice asked, accented and professional. Yes, that's me. My name is Raquel Mendoza. I'm a social worker with Family Services in California. We received a report concerning your well-being. Your daughter, Elena, claims you may be suffering from dementia or cognitive decline and that you've been making unsafe financial and personal decisions. My blood ran cold. Elena had gone that far? She says you disappeared suddenly and may be living abroad under the influence of others. The woman continued. I clenched the phone. Miss Mendoza, let me be clear. I do not have dementia. I'm living in Spain by choice, in a safe, comfortable apartment, perfectly capable of making my own decisions. Her allegations are false. I understand, Senora, Raquel replied calmly, but we're required to verify. Would you consent to a medical and psychological evaluation through the Mexican consulate in Barcelona? Gladly, I said. I'll prove my competence. I called my attorney in California immediately after. Senora Alvarez, he said with a sigh, I've been expecting your call. Elena has hired another lawyer to contest your recent legal changes. She's claiming you weren't in your right mind when you signed them. Can she do that? She can try. But I have recordings of every consultation we had where you were sharp, clear, and deliberate. Plus, the very fact you orchestrated an international move proves your mental capacity. Her case is weak. I exhaled slowly. Then let's prepare a defamation suit. She tried to brand me incompetent to regain control. That cannot go unanswered with pleasure, he said. It's time she faced consequences. 2 days later, I sat at the consulate, undergoing hours of evaluation. The doctor concluded decisively, "You're in excellent mental health. In fact, your choices show remarkable clarity and courage. Your daughter is attempting manipulation." The report was filed officially. Raquel called the next day. "Senora Alvarez, the case is closed. The allegations were deemed unfounded. A record will remain showing your daughter made a false report." I hung up with a mixture of rage and vindication. Elena had crossed a line she could never uncross. That night, I wrote my story. Not for Elena, she'd never understand, but for other women trapped in the same invisible prison. I titled it, "When Motherly Love Becomes Self-Destruction, My Liberation at 74. I detailed every sacrifice, every manipulation, every dollar, and every step toward reclaiming myself. I sent it to a blog that shared stories of women reinventing themselves late in life. A week later, the editor replied, "Your story is powerful. It has already resonated with thousands. Would you allow us to film an interview for our YouTube channel?" I said yes. The video went viral. Women from across the world wrote to me, "My son insults me when I ask him to get a job. I thought I was alone. My daughter only calls when she needs money for vacations. Reading your story saved me. I realized I wasn't a bad mother for setting boundaries. I was a woman exploited for too long. For the first time, I saw my pain turning into power for others." Then came an email. The sender, Marcelo. "Carmen," he wrote, "I saw your interview. I agree with everything you said. What Elena told you was unforgivable. I witnessed how she used you, how we both depended on you financially. I never had the courage to confront her. The twins miss you. Elena told them you're sick, but when they're older, I'll tell them the truth. I know it's late, but I want you to know at least one person in this family recognizes how much you gave. I hope you find happiness. I read it 3 times. Finally, I replied, "Marcelo, thank you for your honesty. But apologies after the damage don't erase the past. I hope this experience makes you a better father and that you teach your children to value love before it's too late." It was the first time anyone in my family had acknowledged the truth. It didn't change my path, but it gave me closure I didn't know I needed. 6 months after arriving in Spain, I received another call from Dolores. "Carmen," she said, her voice urgent, "you have to hear this. Elena lost the house. The bank foreclosed after 3 more missed payments. Marcelo finally got a steady job, but it doesn't pay much. Elena had to go back to work at the clinic as an employee. They moved into a small apartment across town. My heart clenched, not for Elena, but for my grandsons. Still, a strange sense of justice filled me. For once, they were living with the consequences of their choices. That same week, my lawyer called. "Good news," he said. "Because you were guarantor, the bank has returned your initial down payment, plus interest, 2.1 million pesos. It will be wired to your Spanish account." My jaw dropped. Money I thought was lost forever had come back to me. Added to the sale of my condo, I now had more than 5 million pesos, over twice what I'd ever had in my life. At 74, I was richer and freer than I'd ever been. That night, I treated myself to a feast in a lively Barcelona square. Tapas, cava, laughter echoing off stone walls. I raised my glass to the woman I had become, the woman who had chosen to live. Months later, I began writing a book, not just my story, but a guide for women trapped in toxic family roles. When Love Hurts, Breaking Free from Family Exploitation After 70. When it was published, it became an unexpected bestseller across Europe and Latin America. Letters poured in. Women told me they had sold big houses, reclaimed their pensions, traveled, set boundaries, all because my story gave them courage. But the letter that moved me most came from a young woman named Paula. I'm 32. My mother is 67. She has sacrificed everything for me and my brothers. After reading your book, I realized I was treating her exactly like Elena treated you. I called her, apologized, and promised to help her chase her own dreams. Thank you for opening my eyes before it was too late. I cried with joy. My suffering had become someone else's salvation. 2 years later, I found a letter in my mailbox, the handwriting shaky but familiar. It was from my grandsons. Dear Grandma, Dad told us the truth about why you left. He said Mom said terrible things. We miss you, but we understand. We're proud of you for being brave. Someday, when we're old enough, we'd like to visit you in Spain. Enclosed were drawings of me smiling in Barcelona. Tears ran freely down my cheeks. I wrote back, "My precious boys, your words are the most beautiful gift. I love you deeply and always will. When you're grown and free to choose, my door and my heart will always be open. Until then, remember, words can build or destroy. Relationships must rest on respect, not sacrifice." Now, 3 years later, I sit on the balcony of my seaside apartment in Barcelona. 77 years old, wealthier than I've ever been, with a best-selling book in 8 languages, surrounded by true friends. I found peace I thought I'd lost forever. Last week, Elena emailed me for the first time in 3 years. "Mom," she wrote, "I read your book. I never realized how much I hurt you. I don't ask for forgiveness. I just want you to know I finally understand. I hope you're happy. You deserve every bit of happiness I didn't reply. Some bridges, once burned, cannot be rebuilt." But I tucked her words away, not as victory, but as proof. Pain, if faced with courage, can become wisdom. Elena asked me to disappear. That was her birthday wish. I gave it to her, and in granting it, I found myself. Because sometimes the only way to save yourself is to vanish completely and be reborn as the person you were always meant to be, meant